Hello. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Critical Conversations for this 15th of March in the year of our Lord.
The Ides of March.
Oh, it is the Ides of March.
Yes.
In this year of our Lord 2024.
Beware.
Hey, everybody. Live from Denver. It is Friday night. And good. Yeah, we're all good. Everybody can hear us. Everybody can see us. Estonia. Wow. Hey. Seeing some of the usual suspects and critics in the comments here. Hey, Henny. Hey, Christine, everybody. Very happy that you are here tonight and that we are live. We were right up to the last second getting everything all ready here. And so when I hit the button, it was a couple seconds, I think, after. Anyway, whatever. We're here. There's an interesting thing that I've only recently become hyper aware of, which is the fact that sometimes I over-explain.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Sometimes that happens. Anyway, so I'm really glad that you all are here. We have an outline of things to cover tonight. So I don't want to waste everybody's time or anything. I'm just glad we're all here. And frankly, getting on camera, turning it on, going live, it's I don't know. It's a mood changer for me. It's an uplifting experience for me. So thank you for joining us in this. Okay, so intro quote. Did you have a quote for us? We have a quote from Mel. I don't want to skip that over.
Since we're talking about manipulation and control, the greatest manipulation is to convince others they are in control when in fact you are the puppet master pulling the strings.
Yes.
Robert Greene.
Yes. Oh, so much of that tonight. It has been cold here. We got dumped on hard. Like they said it was going to be like a blizzard.
Well, it was in some places, but not where we are. Yeah.
But it was
still pretty good.
So, yeah, it was. Oh, thank you for those gifted memberships, Laura.
Yeah.
Awesome possum. Very appreciated on the channel support, guys. If you want to super chat, if you want to join me on Patreon, if you want to show me some love through PayPal or Venmo or whatever, buy me a coffee. All the links right below. In fact, I even put a whole LINKTREE together, and that's linked down there. So you can get to all the places where I have sort of appeared on the internet. I was going to say crawled out of the sewer onto the internet. Okay, so great on that. Yeah, we got some stuff to cover. So let's get to...
Benson
almost. I had an announcement first, which is this is a little different for this weekend. I'm doing the Speaking of Cults podcast tomorrow live. I don't usually do it on Saturdays like that. I drop it on Saturday, usually at midnight my time. I just want to get it out there. But this week, I've got the paperwork is over there, but I've got a whole little thing of stuff I want to cover in terms of the difficulties, you could say. I sort of checklisted, I sort of bullet pointed some points of difficulties that people have, not only coming out of a destructive cult situation, but then maybe taking on or looking at getting involved with taking on the cult you were part of, or the group you were part of, or the individual, you're going to go enact justice against your abuser. We all have a lot in common. How we were manipulated and controlled, what we talk about with coercive control, very, very much part of what we have in common, but also the after effects and difficulties of dealing with it and moving on from it, or getting all into it so that you can do like what I'm doing or what other YouTube channels do in talking about it or educating about it or trying to raise awareness of it or, whistleblowing on it or any of the number of things that people go on YouTube to try to do to raise awareness about this or let you all know about this kind of stuff. what are some of the difficulties? What are some of the problems? What are some of the issues that you're going to come up against? And, having done this for many years, I thought I might have something to say on that. Did some research, found some things, thought that might be something that we could talk about in a podcast called Speaking of Cults. Here's some of the consequences and problems with speaking of cults. So thank you very much for your wonderful, kind words. So that's going to be tomorrow. I'm going to have that set for 1 o'clock in the afternoon, my time, Mountain Time, tomorrow. If you want to join me, that would be awesome. I thought this one might be singularly interesting for the feedback. That's why I'm doing it live this time, right? Is I want to see, in real time what people have to say about what I'm saying in that. So, so there you go. I also tried to address this week the humming sound that was coming here. I believe it was from the speakers, and I believe it was a low, high-pitched kind of hum coming from the speakers, affecting the sound for some people. And I think that was because I had the speakers plugged in not only to the computer for the sound jack, but also the USB power jack. And it was too close on this little mini PC computer I have running the show. So I plugged it into a power strip instead for power. That seemed to completely resolve the issue.
Good.
Okay. So let's get some Snuggles Not Struggles cam going here. So you can check in on our little fur baby Benson and see, oh my God, in your face, there he is.
Yeah, he's just being so cute.
There he is with his little winter coat on, completely weather appropriate for us today. I was out shoveling the entire driveway and sidewalk and everything. Benson loves going out in the snow, loves jumping around.
He likes to run through it and get all covered in it and eat it.
Oh my God, yes, his little hoodie. That's exactly right. This is his winter gear. And he does. He goes out there and he runs the full length and breadth of the backyard, and he just can't. He just loves it. Anyway, and he comes and gives us a hard time, kind of like he's doing here. He'll just sit and stare at you
until you do what he wants.
Then he'll start growling and sort of this low kind of growl, and then it picks up in intensity if you continue to ignore him. Yes. So, because sometimes we're sitting here working, and we're like, "Hey, man, I'm working. I can't take you out right now, or I can't do this or that." But he doesn't care. He's just, rocking it there. So there's our Snuggles Not Struggles cam for the week. That was a great shot of him, baby. That was really good. He's just awesome that way. Okay, so before we get into the main event tonight, I wanted to talk about this Aftermath Foundation board, this billboard that went up this week and came down almost just as fast, right? Within a couple, a day or two, it was down. This was great. This was an awesome move on the Aftermath Foundation's part with Phil Jones, really doing his magic like he had done with the Call Me billboard. I don't know if you all know, but Phil Jones is somebody I've known almost since, for a very long time. He and I were in a production that never aired. And it was one of the first things I got to go out and do, where we were doing this documentary style, reality style TV show about Scientologists and disconnection and trying to reconnect them with the people that they had lost. And we actually kind of arranged a little thing. And there was a whole thing. So I met Phil and Willie a long time ago at that. And then they did the Call Me billboard as another completely different thing from that whole documentary series. Years later, they did the Call Me billboard and set up that website, and we're like, hey, if you're in Scientology, disconnecting, whatever, call me. Let's get in touch. Let's get people reconnected. And then there was this, right? Most recently, the Aftermath Foundation, as they have laid out, contacted Phil and Willie, and they got this thing right up in PAC's face. And I'll tell you what I was so most impressed by was not only the simplicity and starkness of the message, hey, you get a problem, boom, call the Aftermath. It was the position, it could not have been in a better place. That was the ideal place. It was an ideal billboard instead of an ideal org. You know, it was the perfect place because there is, having worked on that base in Big Blue, there's this billboard spot on the kind of right next adjacent to the property, and everybody on that base walks up and down those streets and would see it every day. It would be right there. It would be perfect. So what does Scientology do? They have a hissy fit of epic proportions. I mean, you know, freedom of speech, except for not for thee and me, right? You know, oh yeah, we're wide open. We're a wide open religion. We accept all denominations.
Sure.
Anybody is free to leave whenever they want, but don't you dare put that signage within our site. Oh no, you might tempt some of the faithful. Oh my God, right? Talk about a gross overreaction. And not only did they get the thing taken down, I mean, right from the get-go, nobody could step out of any of the buildings. Even security, I'm told, Mark Headley told me that even the security guards weren't walking out of their, or doing their patrols or anything. It was a total lockdown. At Pac Base. And then they set up that stupid scissor lift, which was definitely an OSHA violation and not, I think it actually is an illegal thing to do as well, to violate the airspace in front of a billboard.
Sure.
From the little tiny bit that I knew about this, about the law and everything connected with it, from what I looked up, it looks like that's actually a thing. You can't obstruct a billboard.
Oh, okay.
You just can't do it. It's actually illegal, and it seems to be that way across all 50 states. There's interesting laws and regulations connected with billboards when you start looking into it, and it is very rare, from what I could find or see. It was really hard for me to find instances where billboard companies censored, right, where they took them down after the fact. Apparently, there are strategic write-ups online from church groups, specifically, was what I found, about how to call and make a bunch of complaints and make a bunch of noise and get billboards taken down that you don't like. When atheist groups put up billboards, right, we see activity like that. When there's controversial political messaging, we see activity like that. It's not just Scientology that has done this kind of thing, but it seems pretty rare because, as I understand it, it's a legal binding contract with a company, but obviously they always have their escape clauses and get out of free, get out of jail free clauses. So they can cancel it, at any time if they so desire, kind of thing, right? And that's obviously what they're gonna. It's an obvious defense. I obviously don't have access to the contracts that Phil and Willie took out on these billboards with Clear Channel, but apparently Clear Channel is not a very big company, and they folded immediately. And yes, I will absolutely call that a cowardly act in this context, because this was, in this context, I don't care about your politics, your ideology, your religion, your belief sets. It doesn't matter to me. If you have a group of people who are extending an olive branch of help and assistance to anybody under any circumstances, why would you take that down? That is ridiculous. Especially here in this context where Scientology, as we know, is a destructive cult. It does abuse people. They are being abused right now on that base of blue buildings. This is not conjectural. We know this is true. So, so there you go, right? And what are you gonna do? So they took it down, and like I said, that was pretty cowardly. I don't know what the follow-up will be from Phil and Willie or from the Aftermath Foundation in terms of Clear Channel, that company, or what if they have legal recourse. Certainly, they should get a refund of all monies paid. I hope that's happening. I didn't pursue that or check into that. It's not, oh, hey, more gifted memberships. Awesome. Thank you, guys. That's cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, love that. Okay, so we'll see, what comes next. What I can tell you, and what I'm actually happy to tell you, and I don't think it's any big state secret or anything, so I will tell you, is I had a wonderful meeting this week with Mark and Claire Headley, and as personal, as friends, and as after we covered some aftermath stuff, and we'll see where things go into the future with that. I'm just going to say right now, in case there's any kind of weirdness connected with any of this, because I know this is all controversial and there's all kinds of drama connected with all this right now. I am not going to be a board member of the Aftermath. I'm not trying to be anything like that. It wasn't that kind of meeting. It was, but it was a wonderful, wonderful chat with them, and I'm looking forward to many more. And so I kind of got the flavor that the Aftermath is up to a lot more than just billboards. There is more coming, and there is exciting stuff in the future. And in case you haven't guessed, I obviously fully support the Aftermath Foundation in its mission. I don't, y'all know that my channel is clearly stated as a drama-free zone. I'm not gonna get into all the back and forth of the personalities involved here in this video right now, right? We're not going to do that. What I am going to say is that the mission of the Aftermath Foundation is absolutely vital and important, and I support it 100%. And I think that's that shouldn't even be a controversial thing. The fact that that has become a controversial statement is outlandish and shocking to me, is kind of where my head's at on that. But we will move on. In fact, I've got, what is this? Yes, now it is time on our Post-it note of glory here. We are going to now take up our other Post-it note of glory. I don't have full pages this time for what we're going to talk about. But let's go ahead and get into how they control you. All right. Oh, this isn't the first time I've met the Headleys, Christina. I've known the Headleys for many, many years, but we haven't been in touch in quite a while, and it was really great to get back in touch, and that's true. Okay, so how does control happen, right? If you want to understand behavior, and I do, it's been the question that has driven me, for quite some time now. There it is. Is that? Yes. I think this is the article here. There we go. When we talk about what motivation theory can tell us about human behavior, I decided to go into some literature and dig up some stuff and look around today on the subject of behavior and behavioral psychology and motivation, because I watched a video this week which featured, it was a Diary of CEO podcast, and the guest was a former CIA guy. And he had interesting things to say about CIA training and motivation versus manipulation. And this was fascinating. And from that, I dived into a bunch of other stuff to find out, was it something Andrew Bustamante was talking about, or is this something, that has history and psychology and development to it? And of course, it does. He wasn't just talking out his ass or whatever. So let's talk a little bit about this, because if you want to know how to manipulate or control people, you got to understand what motivates them. Period. I mean, these are two things that follow one right after the other. If you don't know this, you're not going to get or be successful at getting people to do things. And to the degree that cults, predators, abusers understand these principles and understand what motivates people, or at least what motivates their victim, they are successful predators. And this is what predation is all about. All right? So understanding these kind of things is really, really important for predators. Well, I happen to think, goofily enough, that this is important for all of us to understand then. Because if we're going to be preyed upon, and we are, just guarantee it, any single person who's watching this right now has been preyed upon by predators. It would be in our best interest to understand what do they get? How do they get into us? How do they get their hooks into us? Well, this has a lot to do with it. So from this Kendra Cherry MSED article, What Motivation Theory Can Tell Us About Human Behavior, there was one point here. Motivation is an important force for initiating and maintaining goal-oriented behaviors. When we are motivated, it feels easier to take steps toward what we want. Motivation also helps us to continue to take action even when things get tough or we feel like giving up. But where does this force come from? That's where motivation theory comes into play. Researchers have developed a variety of different explanations for how we become motivated. Here we share a few of the most well-known motivation theories and ideas behind them, as well as some of their potential limitations. And I'm only going into this, we're not going to go over these different motivational theories. The reason I'm reading this is because I want to kind of set the stage here in terms of there's motivation and there's manipulation. Motivation theory overall, right? That motivation theory is not what this podcast is about today, but I needed to lead with this, or this show. It's not a podcast.
Whatever.
Motivation theory seeks to explain what compels us to take certain actions. While some theories credit our instincts, drive, or arousal levels for helping us get and stay motivated, others suggest that motivation is derived from certain human needs, our expectations, or a desire for external rewards. I happen to think it's all of the above. Anna, you've heard me talk at length, about emotional needs. I've permanent post-it note of glory here, listing out the emotional needs: community, identity, security, volition, attention, emotional connection, privacy, achievement, purpose, meaning, right? Ego. These are all emotional needs. We could call them physiological or psychological needs because it's all part of our system.
It's all one and the same.
That's right. It's all part of it. But I call them emotional needs because it's what satisfies us. When these things are fulfilled, we feel emotionally satisfied. And when these things are not fulfilled in one degree or another, we feel emotionally empty, void, missing something. There's something missing in our life, and it's not food, and it's not sleep. It's not Maslow's lowest level of needs. We're talking about security and that kind of stuff, right? So all of this is kind of a piece, I guess, is the point I'm trying to make. I'm trying to connect this back to what I'm always talking about, right, with emotional needs. Okay, just going to check in quickly, make sure we don't have any craziness going on in the comments. Looks like it's all good. So then there is another thing I wanted to read from, and I think it's in here. Let me check and see. Yes. Yeah, there's different things under motivational psychology. There are very interesting points. The term motivation describes why a person does something. It is the driving force behind human actions. Motivation is the process that initiates, guides, and maintains goal-oriented behaviors. Motivation is what helps you lose extra weight or pushes you to get that promotion at work. Motivation causes you to act in a way that gets you closer to your goals. Goals are important here today. Motivation includes the biological, emotional, social, and cognitive forces that activate human behavior. Okay, it's all of the above. Motivation also involves factors that direct and maintain goal-directed actions, although such motives are rarely directly observable. As a result, we must often infer the reasons why people do the things that they do based on observable behaviors, right? We can only do the best we can in estimating why other people are doing what they're doing based on our understanding of what motivates people. But realize that until they tell us or we can dig in and find out, we're just guessing. sometimes we got really good guesses, and we're off, and we're right often enough that we can fool ourselves when we're maybe not so right, about that kind of thing. Okay. So that all being the motivation stuff. The video that I saw this week that kind of sparked all of this talked about the fact, this Andrew Bustamante guy was talking about the fact that motivation and manipulation are opposite sides of the same coin.
Right.
Right? He even used this little motion when he was talking about it, right? So here I am doing it. I thought that was an amazingly good and accurate analogy. All right, so I totally am taking it and I'm crediting where I got it from. You'll probably hear me talk about this more into the future because this is really fascinating and it helps clarify a few things. He talks about, now this is where he specifically has a model of this. Oh yeah, that's the other thing I wanted to say real fast. There's a million models of behavior out there. There are a million models, not a million, but there's many. There's
many.
More than 10 full-blown models of how a cult is a cult, what a cult does, right? The BITE model that you all are probably super familiar with, Steve Hassan's model, is just one. There's many others, right? Janja Lalich put together what she calls this bounded choice model, where it's about binding the choices that a person has. There are other models of what a cult is. The reason I mention this is because there are also many, many models of behavior, different ways of describing and breaking down or talking about in generalized terms behavior that people engage in. The behavior is the behavior. People join cults. They move up the ranks in cults, they leave cults, they get abused in cults, all kinds of stuff happens to people. People do specific things in these groups, but there's lots and lots of ways to model that behavior to explain it, okay? And I'm just, kind of giving my usual 101 on models here because I want people to understand that there's lots and lots of ways of modeling behavior, and sometimes these models can overlap against another, which is fascinating when that happens. You can find these two different things that kind of coexist in the same kind of space, Yeah, okay. I should let Scott know that I'm not going to be talking about other people's channels or other creators here on this channel. So just so you know, I'm not going to get into answering those particular questions about other creators here. Just so we're clear on that, right? That's what I mean about a drama-free zone. As far as why Leah Remini isn't on their hit list, kind of the same thing. It goes over into that territory, and it's not really what the show is about. So the model that, getting back to this modeling stuff, the model that Bustamante offers here in terms of motivation versus manipulation is based on an older sort of model of how do you get in the intelligence world, in the intelligence community, how do you get somebody to betray their country? You talk about cult recruitment. How do you recruit somebody out of their nationalism or out of their patriotism or out of their belief set?
Yeah, I mean, you obviously have to manipulate them, but how do you manipulate them?
Right. Well, you manipulate and or motivate, right? And there are ways that you can manipulate and there are ways you can motivate.
Convince them how much their country let them down.
Oh, yeah. Disaffect them, right? You first got to, if you want to turn them, right, you've got to disaffect them. With cult recruitment, you don't have to do that step first, but the motivation and manipulation aspects of this are where I kind of wanted to talk about, or where I wanted to go with this today. So Bustamante talks about 4 factors. And those 4 factors that he names are reward, ideology, coercion, and ego. These are your 4 things that cause people to do what they do, that motivate people, right? That you can use to control them or get them to do what you want them to do. See, control doesn't have to be nefarious. We often think of it in that way because we don't like undue influence and undue control. But there is benevolent, yes, there is certainly benevolent, well-intentioned, meaningful, and important manipulation and motivation that occurs in all of our lives every day.
Trying to get your kids to do the right thing.
Exactly. Right? How we deal with children, how we deal with our pets, how we deal with each other. Let's face it. Let's be honest, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's a struggle. In fact, often the struggle of marriages and relationships is figuring out that balance of, you know, how do we coexist here? How do I get you to do things I need you to do? How do you get me to do things? You know, hey, Scott, no worries. I'm just clarifying what's up on my channel. Not a problem at all. Thank you for clarifying. There, you know, it's and there's lots to know, but that's just not what we're doing here. Okay. Yeah, control of information is a huge one, right?
Yeah.
When we look at models of this, again, right, getting back to that, Lifton's 8 points. There's a model for you, right? You boink, boink, boink. You can look at a group. You can look at what it's doing. You can check box its behavior, right? You can draw it into these categories. There you go. Right? Milieu control, sacred science, confession culture, all these little bits and pieces. You put them all together and you get yourself a cult. You get yourself a re-education camp. You get yourself North Korea. You know, you get yourself these things, right? And in a lot of ways, you get other things too, like, you know, Guantanamo. You get all kinds of crap. Okay, so reward, ideology, coercion, and ego. See, here's what hit me about this first. Is I don't have any big punchlines here. I'm going to give them to you as we go. The first thing was coercion is one of 4 factors, and it's actually the lowest one on the rung on the ladder. Because when you are coercing somebody, that is anything from lies and deception that they're not necessarily fully aware of, it's a spectrum, to full-blown blackmail, beat you up. If you don't do what I'm telling you to do, I'm going to kill you, or I'm going to kill your family. That would be the, you know, far ends of violent coercion. You have way, way, way many more steps before you get down to blackmail, extortion, and threats of violence. Right? You have deception. You have lies on your side. You have ways you can coerce people that they don't know they're being coerced. They don't realize that what you're telling them isn't true.
Right.
They don't realize that the path you're leading them down isn't going where they think you're going. That's when it's coercive. Right? We talk about this all the time, right? This repeating pattern of behavior that is controlling behavior. Eventually, it can turn into very strong-arm behavior, but it can also not ever become violent and still be extremely coercive, controlling your social contacts. If I controlled your access to social media, your access to your bank accounts, right? Your access to your family, and I never hit you once.
Yeah, it's still abuse.
It certainly can turn into that, right? If I take your free will away, now we're in a bad situation where, you know, she's now the victim of my predation, right?
Right.
Yes, this is exactly what we talk about when we talk about levels of domestic violence, Red Pill, because this is often coercive control is becoming more and more recognized. It was just recognized, by the way, in Queensland, Australia, this recently. Somebody sent me that article, that it's going into the law there, right? And coercive control in the big wide world, when you hear about it outside of my channel or certain areas in the cult world, coercive control pretty much only applies in the domestic violence sphere when it comes to intimate partner violence or domestic violence. That's where the term is used most in the big wide world. So that's where you'll hear about it when you hear laws being passed about it. That's what they're talking about, is domestic situations. I have been trained, and a lot of other people have been trained in learning how that same model of behavior applies in many other places as well, such as cults, gangs, human trafficking, etc. Okay, so reward, ideology, coercion, ego. So coercion is one of those four, but it's not the only one. And this so much relates to cults. You don't just get coerced into a cult, and it's not only coercive control that keeps you in a cult. And we so focus on that that I realized my big moment was, I got to tell them about this other stuff because there's these other things. And this is all, it fits right in with all the things we've always been talking about in terms of emotional needs, right? It's not just that you can coerce somebody's emotional needs, but you can motivate their emotional needs, or you can sort of ring the bell of their needs or their beliefs or their ego, and you can get them to do what you want anyway. You don't have to strong arm them into it. And the way that Bustamante explained it, which I kind of appreciated, was that motivation is simply getting the person to do what they already want to do. The desire's already there. All you got to do is gen it up a bit, right? Get them excited about it. You know, they want to go exercise. They want to go to the gym. They want to get in better shape. They want to lose weight. They want to do whatever it is they want to do. But they have the internal struggle, or they have the life struggle or resource struggle or whatever, and they lose their motivation. So you could more easily get that person who's already kind of got that goal or desire, be way easier to recruit them into a gym membership or a cult that's all about fitness than it would be me. I don't exercise. I don't go out and do that. I do my walks with Benson every day, and that's my exercise, because I do my mile walk with him every day. And that's all, and I'm good with that, right? I'm not motivated to go get a gym membership. Not right now. I have been in the past, but I'm not right now.
They usually only last so long with me. I get the gym membership, I go steadily for a while, and then flatline.
Yeah, exactly. So if you, and this is where, I realize that we haven't talked about this nearly enough, because this fits so much into the whole pattern of recruitment, certainly with Scientology, and by extension, other cults too. In that, let's take a look at the personality test, right? You go in there and you get ruined, right? They're going to find your ruin, that emotional need that is not being fulfilled. That thing in your life, that situation in your life you can't deal with, you don't know what to do, you don't know how to handle it. But you don't necessarily have to be coerced into dealing with it if you're already motivated to deal with it in the first place, right? These two things, these two sides of this coin, they can flip quickly, right? This is a fluid situation. It's not a steady one or the other kind of thing. So if you can hook into a person's ego, the thing that motivates their desires, their individual reasons for existence, for reputation, for self-identification, for personality, all of this is this ego stuff. We all got ego. Everybody's got an ego. Every human being. It's what it means to be human. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah, cool stuff. Ego is not just people who are on ego trips. It's not just big inflated egos or narcissistic levels of ego.
It's everybody's ego.
Right. It's understanding we all have motivations that come from a desire to forward our own interests or intentions, or reputationally be seen as forwarding things, that will reward us or succeed, bring us success and good standing and stuff like that. That's all tied in with the ego component. Then there is the reward. Okay, so reward. Now here's interesting, because if you go back in articles and in research on this, this model of reward actually used to be called something different, right? It wasn't RICE, R-I-C-E. It was MICE, M-I-C-E. And this is decades old knowledge within intelligence circles of how you go about making spies, or how how a case officer would manage his people, turn them, recruit them, run them, get them to, get us the state secrets or whatever. And they came to learn that it's not just money and it's not just threats that will drive people to betray their country or join a cult or get married or whatever else.
Right.
This is all behavior. MICE stands for money, ideology, conscience, and ego. Or in another place I found, it was money, ideology, coercion, and ego. So this isn't a set in stone thing. Different people have different takes on this, but generally speaking, it's these four components, right? I like reward rather than money because it communicates a lot more. People feel rewarded by and will work for rewards that have nothing to do with money. Social engagement or social status or that kind of thing is absolutely a reward for people, as well as feeding their ego. Some things will satisfy more than one of these categories at the same time. But what's most interesting about this is that the most important or the most powerful of the motivations is ideology.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
It's not coercive control or coercion. That's the lowest rung. When you're being coerced into something, if there's even a hint of it, you're going to know, and you're going to resist it. You're not going to like it. Nobody wants to be coerced. So as much as possible, especially at the recruitment and retention phases of being involved in a cult, they're going to play on your ideological, your reward, and your ego buttons. That's what they're going to do. I mean, this whole point about your eternity in Scientology, that's a reward. That's not a coercive element. Threatening your eternity is where it becomes coercion. But promising you the ultimate godhood and you will be a supernatural being among us, this OT powers, this operating Thetan state, that's reward. Getting over the bridge, regaining your spiritual freedom and personal immortality are the specific rewards that Scientology offers. And those are highly motivational for some people. Now, there's coercion involved in getting a person to believe in those rewards because they are complete and utter lies. They're total fantasies. But it doesn't change the fact that it's a motivation on a reward track, right? That's what it is. And people will generate their own motivation from that. All the power that the cult leader gets out of these relationships, the best of it comes from the person themselves, not because the cult leader's, sucking it out of them. It's because the person's giving it over freely. Oh, that's the best. If you're a vampire for, that kind of energy, man, that's the way to get it.
Mm-hmm.
And goal motivation is almost, I wrote this down here because I was reading earlier about how this aligns with goals, right? This is all about accomplishing things or being motivated to reach or attain things. Not just physical rewards, but something, right? There's some reward. I mean, hell, look at Christianity. Look at religion. Reward, right? Yep. Why do people get so...
There's an afterlife. That's your reward.
That's right, right?
Beautiful afterlife.
Exactly. Yeah. Huge motivation. But again, okay, I'm mixing things up here, so let me get back. Yeah, goal motivation is almost intrinsic to any cult so that its members will stick around. Right? This is where all the coercion and all the bells and whistles and flappy, all the smoke and mirrors and everything, it's all directed to try to get the person to get on board with the rewards and with the ideology and servicing their ego as a result. This is why supernatural goals are so common in cults, because they're unattainable in this life. You have to keep chasing them for the rest of your life. right? They're supernatural. They're not natural goals, right? Weight loss or getting a job or getting an X amount of money. There's finite times that we will put up with that kind of thing, right? I'm only going to work at this job for so long without a fucking raise,
right,
or without some benefits
before I leave, or yeah,
get me out of here, right? There's no real reward. Where's the reward? When's it going to manifest? But a supernatural reward, it's wonderful.
yeah. Sell you
right?
stuff you can't even see.
It's wholly subjective. Right? The experience of it is completely in a person's head. And if you control and manipulate what a person believes and how they perceive the world, you can reward them with absolutely nothing. I mean, isn't it, when you think about it Scientologically, a thetan is nothing. Doesn't exist in the physical universe. Doesn't exist at all. No mass, no wavelength, no location in space or time. Hubbard is literally selling nothing. And he's making billions, millions and billions doing it. Nothing. There's nothing. There's literally nothing there.
Just air.
Right? But that reward isn't nothing to the Scientologists. And ideology, like I said, is the most powerful one because that's your belief sets. Ideology is not just political ideology. We're using that term in the sense of a belief set. Something you can sink your teeth into and believe is true when everything else might not be.
And as humans, we really do like the idea of something happening in the afterlife. So I think that is a big pull. That is why religion and cults that are religious based can really get people in because they really want to believe, like it doesn't just end.
Exactly. Exactly. All the hopes, all the emotional needs that people carry around with them are preyed upon, right, by these groups. And it can look really hard to tell when it's happening in the moment that you're being lied to. It looks and feels exactly like pleasurable, wonderful, awesome experiences you've had in the past or have heard about other people have had. Right? And that's what it's supposed to look like. It's supposed to look very safe, very secure. The most wonderful thing you could possibly be doing for yourself right now is sign up for this course or getting this, new mantra for yourself in TM or, giving over another $1 million to Joel Osteen or, whatever it is, right? Yeah. So ideology is the thing that people will... I loved the example that was given so much that I'm just going to totally steal it from Bustamante again because it's just so fitting. It's such a perfect one. Ideology will make people do things that you could almost never coerce them into doing. Ideology will make large groups of people engage in behavior that is so bizarre that you're like, that if you weren't already tuned in to what was going on, you would wonder what the hell is going on. The example that was given that certainly, kind of slapped me across the face was almost anywhere in the United States at any large gathering of crowds, especially sporting events, when you play the national anthem or at concerts even, you play the national anthem and you just watch, right? If you turn the sound off and you just watched all the people, suddenly out of nowhere, for no reason, for no real apparent reason, people are standing up out of their seats, facing one direction. They're looking for a flag. They're looking for something that symbolizes the country, and they're putting their hands over their hearts, right? A number of people, maybe everybody, certainly a whole lot of people engage in this behavior on a regular basis. And if you weren't clued in on what the ideology was, that would look insane. What the hell? But you understand, it's national anthem. Of course. Why would I, what else would I do? You're so grooved into it. It's such an accepted part of our lives. Pledge of Allegiance as children, national anthem as adults, right? As patriots. This is ideology at work. This is what we're talking about, is any belief set, whether it's national, religious, political, social club, any full, like a self-contained kind of belief set that drives behavior. You have goals connected with it. You have personality and identification from it. There's personality traits that come out of this. Conservatives are this, liberals are this, right? Star Wars fans are this, Star Trek fans are this, and there shall be no line crossing, right? Ideology, it can happen anywhere. And it's the most powerful motivator we have, because people will do anything for ideology. You cannot hold a gun to people's heads and get them to do anything you want. Most people will have a line in the sand. There are things they absolutely positively cannot be forced to do. Ideologically speaking, if you control what somebody believes, or you can manipulate what they believe in, you can get them to do anything. And I mean anything. History is my evidence, right? This is not some wild ass assertion. Look at history. Look at the Crusades. Look at the religious wars. Look at political wars. Look at revolts. Look at every single thing that people get up to out there where they're driven by belief. That's ideology, and it is right. It'll sweep a country. It will sweep over a country. It will destroy a country. I mean, it has the most positive potential and the most negative, right? Just because of the nature of it. So there's a little bit more. I guess the whole point of all of the show today was to say that there's a little bit more going on than just coercive control when we're looking at cult control, right? Or how they control you. Mm-hmm. I hope you've seen today, from all the stuff we've covered here, how all of this is not just in cults, right? This has everything we've talked about with reward, ideology, coercion, and ego applies in relationships. It applies at work. It applies at your sporting clubs. It applies at the gym. Anywhere there are people, right? This is how people are gotten to do things, whether it's to, sit down, or whether it's to get up, to take part, or to never take part. All ends of behavior are driven by these four things. And this is everywhere in the world. This is every human being. And I love finding and talking about certain principles here that we've been talking about lately that truly are universal, because it feels that there are so few of them. Now, lo and behold, in the last few minutes of the show, we have a call coming in, and let's go ahead and pick it up. There it is. Hit that again. There we go. Hello, is this Travis?
Howdy. I'm glad to talk to you, Chris.
Hey, Travis. Welcome back to the show. Are you there?
Tonight, yes, I am. You can hear me now, can't you?
I can hear you now, yes.
Okay, excellent. Hey, listen, so from your discussion tonight, you mentioned a lot of different groups. You primarily focused on the cult angle, which is that's your bread and butter for the channel.
Yeah.
One group, I think, well, I say one group. There are several groups that are encompassed here that aren't necessarily the traditional cult, and I think they're worth bringing up. And those are your multi-level marketing organizations.
Oh, huge. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yes, please.
Yeah, one of them being LuLaRoe.
Yep.
I don't know if you guys, I think everybody's heard of that.
Yeah, there was a whole documentary on it, wasn't there?
There have been several documentaries. LuLaRoe tends to recruit women. I don't know why specifically that was so successful with the women, but really that's a thing that addressed emotional and immediate financial needs, or at least that's what their claim was.
That's right.
And then instill the ideology later.
Correct.
And
that's right. It's a gradual process, right?
It is. And I looked up a lot of YouTube videos because I tried to wrap my mind around what would motivate somebody to engage in such a spurious business model. It's just stupid. Buy a bunch of leggings. Well, you can go to the store for that. Anyone can go to any store, well, practically any store, and get whatever they consider leggings to be and look nice and whatever else.
Yeah, Mel doesn't. So, Mel was never convinced. You never got into an MLM.
No, I never got into an MLM.
Yeah,
I've been to like parties where people do the MLM stuff, where they're like trying to sell you makeup or jewelry or whatever. But
you avoided getting on the MLM
yeah,
train.
I never tried to sell MLM crap.
Yeah. Anyway, please, Travis, go on.
And that's big. No, and that's a great deal, because sometimes people think independently, and they don't need these external MLMs to provide for them the direction that they need.
Yep.
And I think, Mel, you're a great case of that, or at least not in that regard. Like, you weren't looking for, oh my gosh, I can make so much money doing whatever they're selling. I mean, look, Amway, the other one.
That's right.
The videos that I had watched on YouTube, and there are plenty of them, it really is something, the type of grotesque, you say motivation, and I like that, the grotesque motivating factors that people would said that they're quote unquote upline. That's the verb that the label that they use. They're upline, meaning they're the person who recruited them would utilize to keep them motivated and spending money in the MLM. Mm-hmm. It was really disgusting. Mm-hmm. It's awful. Fortunately, the people whose videos I saw, they had a breaking point. I don't know, really was able to identify where their breaking point emotionally, most of it has to do with finances. Put their marriages in strain and so forth, or where they just got tired of being told that somehow it's their fault. Where have we heard that before, Chris?
Yeah, I wonder.
Scientology.
That's right. And I would very much encourage anybody who's watching right now just to shamelessly self-promote here, that I have done whole shows about multi-level marketing schemes and how they work and the anatomy of them and where they came from. We've done some real extensive work on that, and there will be more in the future, but I'll encourage anybody to go check out my old Sensibly Speaking podcasts on those.
Well, I appreciate the fact that you said that you'll do more.
Yeah.
I'm a bit curmudgeonly. My whole thing is I don't pay you in order for you to pay me.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
If you want my flavor,
you pay me.
Starting from square one.
Exactly.
You pay me. It better be some dollars, and not in hugs, not in a bottle of cheap vodka. No, you will pay me X amount of dollars, or else I'm walking.
That's right.
And I'm a bit dickish about that in real life, perhaps to my own detriment. With all of that being said, that's all I've got.
Cool, man. Thanks for calling in. I really appreciate it. That was a really good point.
Yeah.
Take care.
All right, man. Bye-bye. All right. Cool. Yeah, I actually am surprised I didn't mention MLMs during the whole time we were talking about all this stuff, because
very true. Yeah.
I'm telling you, there is no difference. Cult, multi-level marketing, there's no difference. Please hear me on that. Okay.
Yes. Hear him.
Yes. All right. So I will again remind everybody, we are done with our monologuing tonight. I hope you all got something out of that. There will be more. This is all of this stuff is just kind of rolling out as I learn this stuff, and I just can't wait to share it with you guys. It's just so fun. I just love this stuff. I love understanding why did he do that? Like having some kind of answer. It's not just because of the moon was in the 7th house.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
and Mars is in retrograde or whatever. Anyway, okay, so reminder, tomorrow, 1 o'clock Mountain Time, Speaking of Cults podcast, live right here at this desk. I will be here, and we will do that stuff. And yes, and then as far as channel goals and goal motivation goes, entertainment, education, information, that's what I want you guys to walk away from this channel and this show and my work with, right? Is that you're entertained, informed, and feel like you may be able to, you know, do something better in your life as a result. That's the whole goal here. And on that happy note, if you want to contact me personally for a consultation, I am available for that. You can one-on-one with me about cult experiences, coercive experiences, not having anything to do with cults. I can work with you. I am not a therapist or a counselor, but I do consultancy. That means education, guidance, listening, advice, etc. I'm more than happy to do that work for you. Contact me and let's talk. All right. I will see you guys tomorrow. And did we have... Oh, please quickly, baby.
yeah.
Sorry about that. Please give us our critical thinking card of the week.
Sunk cost fallacy. You irrationally cling to things that have already cost you something. When we've invested our time, money, or emotion into something, it hurts to let it go. Ask yourself, had I not already invested something, would I still do so now?
There you go. Sunk cost. We all heard about something about that with Scientology, I think. Yeah, that's where I heard it.
That's the ticket.
All right, guys. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.